of our FOL Marketplace. That's the place we discuss business, economics, and finance. So welcome to this edition. We're glad to have you all. And we're going to be discussing some economic, business, and finance issues in Liberia. We are glad to have the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Professor Wilson K. Tarpeh, with us tonight. So before we get to the minister, I want to say welcome to Mr. Morris T. Mann, our panelist, my co-host, Mr. William Thomas Bernard King, the grandson of President Charles D.B. King. We always want to mention that because we have royalty in the building. And also our resident economist, Mr. Depu Zuo. Mr. Zuo and guys, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Zuo,
I'm glad that we have our professor with us today.
Great. So you go ahead, Mr. Zuo, and welcome the professor and the topic of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. Prof. Tarpeh, we want to say welcome to Focus on Liberia. This section we call it now Marketplace, formerly Business and Economic Forum. What we do here is to look at key issue, economic issue in Liberia and discuss it with a Liberian community in the diaspora or back in Liberia. And at this time, we are very glad to receive you. One of the reasons we've called you is that you are the one responsible for price regulation and goods and services in the country. And Liberia is actually one of the countries that is faced with the issue of business climate improvement in terms of doing business around the world. And many Liberians are also interested from the diaspora to see how best they can get involved with the economy in line with President Weah's own call for Liberians to participate in the economy. So thank you so much for coming, and we hope that you'll be able to give us highlights on the function of your ministry and how best can Liberians participate in their own economy.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and I look forward to a good discussion.
Once again, welcome Minister Tarpeh to Focus on Liberia. This is your first time on the forum. We are glad to have you. We are honored. And let's get the ball rolling by first of all telling us a little bit about the functions of the Commerce Ministry, what exactly you do. You're the Minister of Commerce, and I believe formerly that was the Minister of Commerce, Industry, and Transportation. So to get the ball rolling, tell us briefly the functions of the ministry and what exactly you do.
Well, thank you. In brief and concise terms, our responsibility is to regulate trade. That means trade between Liberia and the outside world, trade within the country itself, internal trade. We also want to make sure that we manage or conduct commerce within regulated confines, and those people involved play by the rules. We also are responsible for industrial development. Those things that are done to promote industry, we follow them, or we have a fourth plank on that, which is the Division of Small Business Administration, where we ensure that Liberians are given the opportunity to venture into productive activities in the economy.
Thank you. I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. William Thomas King, and also our panelist, Mr. Morris T. Mann. We're glad to have the minister. Mr. King.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ja, for bringing the minister on today. I think it's opportunity for us to get a real time and perspective of what attaining in Liberia in terms of the business climate, the challenges, and what they're doing to mitigate those challenges, and what the long-term projections and where they're taking the country. So it's a good thing to get the minister here to give us insight on what they're doing.
Mr. King?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister, for joining us. This is just an honor and a pleasure. We're going to be definitely looking forward to what you have to say, what you have to share with our Liberian people. Focus on Liberia. We pride ourselves in that this show, our focus is about the business and economics. This is non-political route, although for Liberians it's a little bit challenging at times for us to stay on that track. But you know, that's what this is about, is giving the platform and having some dialogue about Mama Liberia and what we can do at, you know, please keep that in mind always, at the forefront, what it is that we in the diaspora can be doing, should be doing, and to kind of become stakeholders and help this country move forward. So thank you once again for coming on our show, where we ask the tough questions, but all for the betterment of Liberia. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I think it's a difficult thing, but you know, it's a tough thing. You can't swim and say you don't want to get wet. But the
Yeah.
important thing is to be objective, and I'm glad to see a group of young professional Liberians caring so much about their country and developing a platform on which that we can provide information that can improve the situation of our country. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And before I turn it to Depu to ask some questions, let me start, Professor, by saying we heard about all the news around it, surrounding the gas issue. How is it now?
Well, they say we are not out of the woods completed yet, but we are hoping that by the end of the weekend, say by midweek, we should be returning to normalcy.
So how does that, how has that abnormalcy been looking like?
It's been a very difficult situation because you know, imagine gasoline is a commodity that affects everybody. It affects business, it affects schools, it affects the children, everything. I mean, it has to do with movement of people. So when you don't have it or you have it in limited supply, it affects a lot of situations. But what is important here is the capacity of the government, the willingness of the government to take the necessary decisions to correct the situation and ensure that this kind of crisis does not occur unknown to us, unbeknown to us.
Right. And the reason we are here is Liberia has an import-dependent country. Is constrained by external price, you know, of its major commodities, or those import commodities such as rice, gasoline, fuel, cement, etc. So the question on everybody's mind is, what is the government doing to ease that, you know, to make it easy for people to make business in Liberia?
Well, there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that needs to be done, and that still needs to be done. What we are doing first, our first effort was to review the entire arrangement A to Z. How long will it take a dentist to put an order in for the importation of a particular commodity, and how long does it take for that process to be complete? When we took over the Ministry of Commerce, it was something that was requiring between 720 to 767 hours to do that. If you conducted that if you look at that in number of days, that would be close to maybe 28, 29 days. So we review the system and we look at the entire process engineering. And I can tell you by May last year, we cut that down to under 12 hours. As a matter of fact, we've even removed that regime called the import permit declaration, and been instituted with something called the notification of import, which now requires no interference. You just write the Ministry of Commerce that this is what you want to bring in, and you put in the order, it goes to BVA for verification, and there you go. Another thing that we are doing to completely remove that is to install a trade platform, the single window, where you can sit in the comfort of your office, put in your request to order, and the approving agencies will be online, and within hours, you can have your stuff done. So there's a lot that's been done to improve it. Are we there yet? Certainly not, because there are other processes. When people come in to do their business registration, it used to take maybe 27, 28 days. We have reduced that to under 72 hours, but that is still too much. We think we can do it within 24 hours and the time less, but that requires certain level of systems. It requires a certain level of architecture, and the architecture required is an improved electronic system that you need to deal with that. So we are working hard. to make sure we put in the internet systems, the automated system, we improve it. The Swedish people were happy, the Norwegian also were happy to have them. They brought in the system. It's a little outdated now. We're trying to improve it. So those are some of the steps we are taking. The other thing we're trying to do is to restore predictability to investors. If an investor wants to come, say, or Ja wants to come to Liberia to open a business, he must know in advance those things that need to be done. He must know the prices attached to them, so that when he does what he has to do, he has a reason to predict what will happen, and it is not left with the decision, arbitrary decision of some decision maker sitting in a ministry to decide whether Ja gets it. It's that level of predictability we're trying to encourage. So we have developed a website called the Liberia Business Hub that will tell you anything and everything you want to do if you want to open a business in this country, the procedures, the cost, and all of that. Then you go to the Ministry of Commerce and Industrial website, which is live, which is updated on a daily basis, and all of that information is given. The regulations, the laws, the procedures. So these are some of the things we are doing.
Honorable Minister, go back for a second, because sometimes you are in this thing every day. So I got a question. So are you basically telling me that, let's say I want to come there and I say, hey, you know what? I want to look at opening a factory, bottling factory or something. That's where I want to start with. I want to do work in West Africa. I want to open up a bottling factory. So are you telling me that we are at this point now where through the computer system and everything, I can begin to do my research, and I can be rest assured that, going to the research online, looking up the information through the website and everything like that, that I can begin to quantify what I need? And then also go back a little bit more when you talk about those amount of hours that you cut back so that things can go faster with their port. We have a lot of Liberians who do import export. So please, where the rubber hits the road, give us maybe some example of what that looks like for the common man shipping to Liberia, and also someone who want to open a business like a bottling company.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will take my time on this for the benefit of the audience. It's important.
Yes.
Let's say you, Thomas, wanted to open a business here. First, you do your market research. Then that is within your own domain. The laws are there. The websites are there. You find out what the requirements are. You will need a business, or you need to register the business in Liberia, and that will involve the preparation of your article of incorporation by your lawyer. You bring it into the Liberia Business Registry, and it is processed. That procedure about 2 years ago was taking anything between maybe 28, 30, 35 days. We have now updated that, and they can take you on 72 hours, 96 to 72 hours. Still, we think it's too long, and we're trying to improve the system so you can get it in less time. But the reduced time does not sacrifice quality. It does not sacrifice transparency and speed. We want to make sure that we can do that. So within that short period of time, you can have your business registered, and the rest is left with you after you shall have done your market research. You talk to your investors. That is a situation that you can handle. Now, let's say you wanted to import something. The requirement will be you come to the ministry, say, I want to bring a bunch of carpets. You come to the ministry, you put in what they call the import permit declaration. This is what I want to bring in. The ministry approves it. They give it to you, and then you send it to your supplier. The supplier sends the goods to you. It gets to the free port. The requirement is that you must come back to the Ministry of Commerce to say that this has arrived and I need to get it out. Commerce Ministry gives you that authorization to pick it up. You go to BVAC. BVAC does the assessment, and they say, okay, this thing is $10, and you have to pay 10%, which is $1. So they give you a bill. You go to LRA to pay the $1. LRA decides, no, this stuff is not $10. You are under declaring. So according to our assessment, it is $30. And so your tax is going to be $3 instead of $1. You don't want to go up and down. You unwillingly, but you paid the $3 and the goods are sent out. Now, let's say you started the process on Wednesday and you have the APM terminal, which manages the port. It gives you 5 free days in which to clear the goods when it comes without any charges. So you start the process, say you start the process on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It does not get complete until the following Tuesday. You have exceeded the time and APM terminal will begin to charge you storage charges. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you go and go for it. So when we went in, we decided to review it. One, if the Ministry of Commerce gave you the authorization to import, why do you have to come back to the Ministry of Commerce instead of just picking up because the approval was given? Two, if the BVAC that was hired by the Liberian government through LRA did the assessment, why should LRA
technical difficulty right there from the minister? But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Focus on Liberia. We are having a sit down with the Minister of Commerce.
Yeah, Dennis, and just want to add, this is good. This is a good dialogue for all of our people who are looking to do the import export. Hold on, he's back.
So we cut that down. You cut that down. You don't even now have to come to the ministry. All you do, Dennis, will write a letter. I want to import this quantity of rock into the country. You go ahead. You send the order to your supplier. Supplier sends it. You get it. Go and pay your custom fees.
Wow. So now we've eliminated so many steps. This is excellent. This is excellent. I don't know for you guys who can hear, but I actually caught what he was saying, because that's a huge challenge. A lot of times, some of our Liberians in California, when they were importing stuff, they were just, the whole pain was, okay, I gotta then ship the container, then I gotta go to Monrovia to make sure that I clear, because I know that I have to deal with LRA, the AMT folks. I have to deal with so many people over there. And so right now there's a confidence that has been established where you go to a one-stop shop. And I think that's very critical. Depu or Morris, Minister, are you back? Okay.
I am back.
Yeah, Minister, can you go back for a second and talk about from the part where you talk about the letter?
Yes. Okay. Instead of now you coming to the ministry to ask for import permit declaration, that regime has been scrapped. You only do a letter. I want to bring in some rocks. This is what the rocks are going to cost. I'm going to buy the rocks from
connection there.
Man.
Okay, maybe.
And they do their thing at that with the system.
Minister Tarpeh, we are having problem with your connection.
Are we there?
Okay, we're having problem with your connection. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. So let me just repeat that quickly. Instead of the IPD now, Brother Jawed do the letter to his suppliers. They say is Brother Murray Man gets the order and he ships the goods to the Brother Jah here in Monrovia. He goes to APM, it gets assessed, take it to LRA, and your taxes are paid. So the IPD regime has been scrapped and replaced by what we call import notification form. Still, yeah, we think we can do better. in terms of speeding the process and improving it. But what has happened is that we try to minimize human interference of the process, which makes it possible, which makes it a good in a way that you reduce the human interference, so people who are doing rent seeking will not pose that kind of problem to private sector investors like yourself.
If I may ask the Honorable Minister and Professor Winston Tarpeh this question, you just explained the process and how and the process flow in accessing document, importing goods into Liberia. Mm-hmm. And you talked about going to the ministry. Do you have any plan to reduce that stress? Because going to the ministry, and at times, and the people get obstructed, and the ministers get busy. People get busy at the ministry, and to get people to even get that approval. And are you having a plan to automate the approval process online, where I can just submit my request to import a certain quantity of goods, and you just, and the system would just, somebody would just go to the system, access my request, and approve it and send it back to me?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's what I just said. Of course, we try to reduce the level of human interference. And I said we have a situation now. We are almost completing the procurement process for the acquisition of a system called the Single Window, which is a World Trade Organization supported platform that will make it possible for you, brother man, to sit where you are, get on the system, get approval because the people. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? No, Ramones, I was saying, yes, we are working on a process. There's the procurement process for the acquisition of something called the Single trade and put in this, go into the system, put in what you want, and those approving will also be online. They approve it, so you don't have to go come into the ministry and doing all of that. But that is something that we are almost like 85% complete. We are hoping by the end of the year that system should be activated.
Thank you, Minister Tarpeh.
Okay,
Minister, the gasoline issue is still fresh on our minds, and a lot of talk surrounding it is people really don't know, especially a lot of people talking about it don't know how the entire process work. So between from the Commerce Ministry, LPRC, Freeport, tell our audience what is involved from point A to Z. Tell us how the process of bringing gas and distributing it to the consumers. How does that process work, so that we can have an idea where the problem was and how that can be avoided next time?
Well, let me make sure I can understand you. You want to know the process, how it goes from A to Z, and what is being done to avoid a recurrence of what happened. Is that correct? Because at some point in time you are breaking in. Is that correct?
That is correct. Go ahead, you're correct.
Maybe he can call in direct. When he can't, he can give a number, he call in direct.
Yeah, he can call my number directly.
I'll be the best option. Can you text it to him?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I am saying the question you are asking is, you want to know what is the process for bringing fuel of gasoline into the country, A to Z. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. An importer first must be licensed by the Liberia Liberian Petroleum Refining Company. So let's say Brother Depew has been licensed and he wants to bring in, say, 10,000 metric tons of prime motor sense, commonly called gas. He talks to his supplier. He agrees with the supplier, payment terms or financing terms, and the supplier agrees to sell. The stuff is put on the boat, and the boat is on the way to Liberia. Within 72 hours or so, the boat sends Mr. Depew a Q88. The Q88 is a document that tells you that, in fact, this particular ship is coming, and the ETA is, say, March 15. That means when it arrives here. When the boat arrives, LPRC received the boat at its jetty, and the 10,000 metric ton, which is approximately 3.5 million gallons, I pour into the tank. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but in that tank are products belonging to 2 or 3 other importers. So let's say the 3.5 that is there for Brother Depew, some group of people have, say, 7.5 million gallons. So you're adding 3.5, that would be 11 million gallons. All right.
Okay.
So Depew comes in and he decides to load, to take out, say, 3 million gallons over a period of time. He exhausts all of that. He sells it to his client. On his books, he has 500,000. On LPRC books, there should be 500,000 for him. But in the tank, before you put his, there were 7.5 million gallons that were in there. So with his 3 gone, that should be 800 or 8 million remaining. Depew runs out of fuel. He asks LPRC, listen, I need 1.5 million gallons to supply my clients. I have a boat that is coming, and as soon as the boat comes, I will replace it. That is the process called provisional lifting. LPRC goes into the tank, takes out 1.5 million gallons, and gives the 1.5 million gallons to Brother Depew. But mind you, Depew only have 500,000 gallons left. Are you there?
Yes, we are hearing you.
So he has a deficit of 1 million, but the 1 million came from the tank where the rest of you people had your product. Now on your books, you are not consulted by that one for that 1 million. It's LPRC that took the 1 million and gave it to Brother Depew. So on your books, you got 8 million. In the tank, LPRC has 6.5 million instead of 7.5 million. That provisional listing is only between LPRC and Brother Depew, who now owes the tank 1 million, but this is unknown to you people who have product in the tank. And in effect, you are the one who, it is your product that was used by LPRC. This is why when LPRC provided the statistics to us of $4.4 million, we took that figure because that is the normal procedure. Unlike the rest of the commodity, which we go and look at physically. Well, let me not go there, but that is the procedure. So you have asked for the product, you order it, enter the tank, you draw it down, you sold it to your customers. How did this problem happen? The provisional listing that we are talking about, Depew took out 1.5 instead of 500 that was in his account, so he owes the tank 1 million. But the 1 million is coming from the rest of you who have product in there. But you don't know because you did not authorize that. And so when we got the 4.4 as what should have been in the tank, and we finally got to know the actual quantity in the tank, we're short by $3.4 million. 3.4 million gallons. That is the problem. That's what caused that. How did we get to know? We got to know because the flow stopped. Had we had a boat coming to put additional fuel, you would not have had this problem. Then on top of that, importers who were given the room to bring in product did not bring product. all of this exposed the weakness of the system. And so for us, I think it was a blessing in disguise. We take the necessary steps to avoid the recurrence of that unfortunate situation. I hope that makes sense.
You said the flow stopped. What does that mean?
It means that as long as there are boats that are dumping into the tank, you will not know this is. It's like a Ponzi scheme, but it's not a Ponzi scheme. As long as the cash flow continues, you will not know this situation.
Right. What stopped the flow? That was my real question.
When cash flow starts this point, there's a lot of sand that piles up. So the harbor needed to be dredged, which is something the port is doing now. And because it could not be dredged, it was shallow, the larger vessels bringing in product could not come into the harbor. That's why it did not happen. Are we there?
Yeah, with that. Mr. Zuo, come in. I have some people are asking questions now. So the people come in, then I go on we go get some comment from Facebook.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much for the explanation. But one of the things that we are also concerned about with the import permit, which of course, first of all, we want to congratulate you and the administration for removing the import permit declaration. But the question there is that many people would think that the import permit is actually for just bringing ordinary goods in the country. What's the difference between sending people who send their container for clearance in Liberia and that of the import declaration clearance?
The import declaration were two things. If you are sending something over here, the import declaration is for people who are bringing things into the country, but you are outside, you are on that side, you want to send something over here. The only thing that it requires of you is for BVAC to do the inspection on that side, which is something that has become a little noisy from what we hear from BVAC. So in that case, you don't necessarily need the import permit declaration because you are on that side, you are Liberian on that side. But if it's a business that is here that is putting in an order, you need to you needed to get the import permit declaration. But I'm saying that regime has been scrapped. It's been replaced by import notification, which is just a letter from you that I'm bringing in this number of rocks into the country, and then the permission. You don't really need the permission. You go to BVAC, they do all of the drills, and then you send your order out.
Yeah, but then the question that many people are concerned about, which of course is, why would BVAC do an inspection here? Why would BVAC that is trusted by government do an inspection overseas, and the goods get back and the LRA have to also do another inspection? Is there a credibility problem? What is happening? Because it's almost like double.
It's not a credibility problem. It was a system that was set up that we met there. But this is what we are trying to do, to remove it. Remove it and just put in one inspection regime. That is the designated inspection. Send the stuff over here and we'll do one inspection at the port. That also is a procedure or a procurement that is in process, and we hope to have that. In fact, an award was given to one of the tenderers, and the destination inspection now we obviate the need to do pre-inspection, pre-shipment inspection. You bring the goods here and the inspection is only done at the port.
All right.
Will there be some cost savings going that way? And is that the established best business practice now?
Yeah, there'll be cost savings, because why would you want to pay twice for something that's going to be done the same thing? It's a duplication of effort. In fact, the current discussion with BVAC now and the Ministry of Commerce is about to take a decision in that respect after our meeting next week. Most of our compatriots overseas, most of what they send are personal effects. And sometimes BVAC goes there, it gets a little rowdy, it gets a little noisy, it becomes uncomfortable, it becomes frustrating. What we have on our desk now is to find out whether those things can be exempted from the pre-shipment and only be subject to the destination inspection. That is something we are looking at. We think we'll make a decision before the end of March.
So there are some items on the list that will still be subject to a couple of inspections, but you're trying to narrow down the list so that there's less.
I lost you there.
I said some items will still be subject to 2 inspections.
No, generally, we're trying to remove the 2 inspections, my brother. We're trying to remove the 2 inspections. Do
Got it.
1 inspection, and that inspection is the destination, meaning wherever you want to ship from, send the stuff over here. We'll not do pre-shipment inspection, which is costly, which is time-consuming. Imagine somebody shipping something from Chicago or Minneapolis or wherever. He doesn't go to work or she doesn't go to work and wait for BVAC. BVAC does income. She lost time. She lost hours. And then if they decide to country, you still have to pay. That is something.
Okay,
Hello?
thank you.
Okay.
All right. Minister, are you there? If just in
I'm
case,
here.
yeah, just in case we lose you, if it is possible to call my number directly, we can have you, because it's very important and we keep losing you. But let me read some comments from Facebook, from our viewers. Franklin Montgomery said, Minister Tarpeh, can your government please reduce the freight on the National Port Authority? Telvina Cole says, do they have that process when you were explaining about the process of the importation? Say, do they have that process mapped out? If so, please make it public. Then Ma Jangason Del Perro say, Dennis, please ask the minister what is being done to incorporate diaspora Liberians who are qualified and wants to go back home to help the system. Also tell him that I want to recommend Mr. Alex Jones to him. Mr. Alex Jones is part of this forum. So these are the few comments. If you can respond to them, and we'll read more as time goes by.
Okay, I think these are good comments. Let me start from the last. Talking about somebody who wants to recommend. I would like for us to discuss that privately. Depu has my number. He has my email. Let's try to communicate privately to preserve the identity and the confidentiality of the discussion, if he doesn't mind that. And I will ask Depu, my young brother, to give him a coordinates. But yes, there are processes. You go to the Ministry of Commerce website. Is www.mocr.gov.lr. You go there and you find all the information you need. If there's information that you need that is not there, you send. There's an email. There's an email address there. You send that, and we get a response to you as early as possible. There's also the Liberia Business Hub, which is a website dedicated to data information of everything you want to do. So we have those websites. If you want to get back to us, go to that website and we'll give you the information. We can even give you information from other institutions that are not necessarily available to the website. The question about the fees. There is a general review now ongoing concerning the fees. The initial finding appears to support a thinking that Liberia is about the.
Go ahead.
Okay, Liberia is about the lowest in the region, but we want to do better than that, because we do remember at some point in time Liberia was a hub for transshipping here. Why is it that people are taking the things to Guinea and driving it over the border? It means if the fee structures are good, then certain things need to review again. And so there is a system ongoing to review that. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was a reduction in the fees on certain commodities to make it easy for people to import them. But sometimes it has to do with systems, it has to do with procedures. And we are trying to simplify those systems and procedures.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are in discussion with the Minister of Commerce, Minister Wilson K. Tarpeh. And post your comments on Facebook, we'll read them. And pretty soon we're going to open our phone lines for brief question or comment. Back to you guys. The minister is here.
Mr. Minister, I also want to take you back to domestic production. What is the ministry doing in terms of giving opportunity to Liberians that are producing locally? We see that one of the things that developing nations face is the issue of infant industrial growth. And you realize that many Liberians that are producing locally have an issue of high cost of production, and they can be knocked out by the cheap imports. So what is the ministry doing to also empower Liberians that are producing locally? For example, those who are producing rice, juice, and biscuit and other things locally.
Well, you know that's a very difficult area, but the government is clear on that. You have a system where 87% of what happens here is strictly based on trade. You also have an economy where 91% of the total capitalization is non-Liberian. That is not sustainable, and that is not strategic in terms of capital formation. All it does is to encourage the flow of capital, which is, of course, not domiciled here in Liberia. What is our approach as a government? The approach as a government to support local industries, like flour, like nails, like biscuit, like candle, insecticides. Last year, the ministry took a unilateral decision to stop the importation of anything that was, and of course, there was a lot of noise coming. The WTO came in, said no, it's free trade. Our position is that, listen, we have to protect these infant industries to be able to grow. Let them go above the product curve to be able to produce quality product. Because if we cannot produce anything, then what are we trading? All we are doing will continue to be used as a trading post. So we took a position. Okay, they say, well, you can do it through the imposition of excise or other taxes to reduce that. But you still have to look at the cost structure of what has been brought in. If you put in a higher tax and this guy decides to under invoice, he still is going to beat the local production. So there has to be a deliberate decision of the government, which we do have, to support local industries. So that is the situation. And the argument, most people say, oh, you are a member of the WTO and you can't do this. Our jovial answer, or serious answer to that, when you get on the aircraft, my brothers, one of the things they tell you is that when there is a problem with oxygen in the aircraft, the oxygen mask will drop. And even if you have your child sitting by you, you put your own on first before the child. So we have to support our local people who are producing.
So Honorable Minister, that was a jovial answer, huh?
Yeah, well, they lie, but that's what it is. You can't be concerned.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree with you.
Honorable Jazz, I got a question for the minister.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Maurice.
Honorable Minister, I was reading on your website and you did issue a press release on January 3rd, which was on Thursday. And you made specific emphasis on the public sector, how the private sector, the private sector drives and is the engine of economic growth. And a lot of people, and most of the issues that we hear from the private sector, most of the challenges they face is the issue of electricity. Electricity is not stable, and the issue of inflation, and the issue of interest rates. I know the issue of road is something that some of these things are inherited constraints, and you guys are doing. I want to know what you guys are doing to resolve some of the issues, because if your argument is the private sector is the engine of economic growth, and these challenges are the constraints that are undermining the capacity of the private sector to set up the engine of growth of the economy in Liberia. What you guys are doing to resolve the challenges, and when we expect to see some tangible results in terms of stable electricity, better interest rates, and inflation. What you guys doing to resolve that?
Thank you very much. I don't have all the answers, but let me tell you what we are doing. On the issue of electricity, in fact, one of the highest cost items on the balance sheet or in income statement of any private person, private business, private investor here is electricity. In the sub-region, I think it's something like 12, 15 cents. I stand to be corrected, but in the case of Liberia, you're talking about 2 to 2.5 times that amount, which is very high, to the instability of the current situation. We are making efforts. I think the World Bank came in the other day to provide a substantial amount of money to allow LEC to get more current, and the transformers that they are bringing in. So a lot of money is being put in there. It's going to be tough because we are in an austerity mode. Austerity mode meaning that the government does not necessarily have all of the money it desires that it needs to do the development. So the next thing is to invite the private sector people who have interest to come and invest in that sector so that the cost of electricity will go down. But I can tell you there has been a little reduction in that. Is it there yet? Certainly we're not there yet, but efforts have been made to make sure that that is reduced. You come to the issue of the interest rate. You come to the issue of inflation. You have to look at the entire monetary policy regime. You have a dual currency regime where you have the United States dollars and the Liberian dollar. Now, in order for you to ensure that the two currencies can exist, you have to determine that each of them, especially the national currency, the national currency, which is the Liberian dollar, is giving some level of acceptability. When we came into this government, when this government came in 2 years ago, it was difficult. In fact, the government itself, 61 out of 70 transactions from the Ministry of Finance was denominated in Liberian dollar. There's no country you can go to see that your national currency is your national currency. Our initial approach to that, now for a full solution, is to increase the acceptability of the Liberian dollar. So in August last year, after consultation with the private sector, we passed a regulation that anybody who does business in this country, who sells goods or service in this country, you cannot refuse the Liberian dollar. You can do your billing in the base currency, can be your dollars, but if Brother Jah wants to pay the Liberian dollar equivalent, publish the rate, and that amount is paid. That is what we are doing. The substantive part is to do a major rearrangement of the monetary policy. At some point in time, we have to decide to go to a single currency, which is a process that has been pursued, but you cannot continue a dual currency regime in a situation because that particular situation makes it difficult for macroeconomic adjustment.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
And the issue of the interest rates.
Hold on. Okay, yeah.
The interest rate.
Well, the interest rate, these are the things, my brother, that these are the things that affect the interest rate. For instance, they charge interest rate in Liberian dollar, US dollar loan of maybe 14, 15%. They charge maybe 16, 17, 18%. But that entire interest rate regime has to be revised. How can you charge 15% for US dollars, 18% maybe for Liberian dollar, when you have a psychological rate of 1 to say 195? You can do that. You have to be able to revise those rates to reflect the Liberian dollar actual situation and reflect the US dollar situation. The intent should be to create a demand to give the Liberian dollar a store of value. You have to give it a value to make it acceptable. To make that acceptable, you must be able to give it a value so that people can be able to invest in it and receive it and keep
We're having that problem again. All right. We'll soon be bringing in our callers. We have callers waiting on the line, but after the minister, William will go first and make a brief comment, and then we bring in our callers.
Okay, Dennis, are we available? This was the comment from the minister. Okay, let him finish. Are you okay now? We good to hear with the connection?
Yeah, sure, we good.
Okay, so Honorable Minister, this is William here. I actually work in the electricity industry for about 13 years. And I wrote a few papers for Liberia on electricity. A couple of things that we do bring up that it's a little bit scary, but I know that that's been very popular with our Liberian folks, which is hydro. There's a huge push for us to utilize hydro and to build hydro. But what I do want to say is that we need to step back and look at this from a holistic picture. When you do hydro is available in abundance during the rainy season. And during the rainy season, there's so much electricity in Liberia that's being generated. Our problem is we don't have the infrastructure, T&D, to kind of move that electricity around. The other thing that's scary about that is that even if you wanted to sell that electricity through the West African power pool, Ivory Coast, our neighbor, has a lot of rivers and they have an abundance of electricity during the rainy season also. So we're gonna have this supply that we can't store that's gonna be there. Something that I believe we should strongly consider is the liquid natural gas. Liquid natural gas, because we have good ports and we have the ability to build some generation stations. And with liquid natural gas, you have the ability to sell it year round. You have the ability to sell it year round. And we need to look at exporting what we generate, basically selling, because that also will increase our net input, because we'll be able to sell that type of power to the West African power pool, to Ivory Coast, and that's going to be a positive reflection on our numbers. So that's just something that I think as like we have the ability to really explore a little bit more. But the hydro thing, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot, because it's like you giving somebody rain during the rainy season. Thank you.
Okay, well, I appreciate the comments, but I have to be frank with you on that. When it comes to that, my information is inadequate. Thank God I don't make my living by that. So, but I am sure those comments are useful. Maybe what I would need to do is to contact my colleagues in that sector to contact you and provide additional information. I think your comments can be helpful to us here.
Thank you. All right. Honorable Minister, at this time, we're going to open our phone lines to involve our listeners. We have a first caller. Caller, your name and where you're calling from. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
All right, your name and where you're calling from. All right, let me go to the next caller. Caller, your name and where you're calling from. You have 1 minute.
My name is Dixon Gonga. I'm calling from Louisville, Kentucky. Am I clear?
Yes, you're clear. Go ahead.
Okay. My question. Good afternoon, Mr. Minister. My question has to do with these policies that were put in place by the previous government, especially Amara Kone and the Labor Minister now, Mr. Colley. That has to do with those salvage cars that people take over from here to Liberia, and those penalties that were placed on them, especially those salvage cars that have been bought here with the original price, and then it gets to Liberia, and then the government refuses to recognize that present price on the salvage car, and then they come out, they go on the blue book to take the price from the blue book and put it on the salvage car to price it, and then they tell you to pay these kind of taxes on it. And then the second one has to do with the 10 years penalty and fine that were placed on all cars that have lived more than 10 years, and then they enter Liberia, and then the government put a penalty to that. And my point is that we are not producing a car, we are not fixing tires. Why would you want to level penalties and fine on cars? Even in America here, people driving cars here that have 20 years, 25 years. So what's your plan to scratch those penalties and fine from your book? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, let's get your response, then we'll take one more call.
Okay, if I understand the question, and correct me if I need to be corrected, I think his concern is why is the government requiring people to bring vehicles here that are not more than 10 years old. Is that right? And why are they imposing penalties for people to do that? Is that correct?
Penalties.
Okay, so I mean, but every jurisdiction has regulation. The situation is, if you bring cars, we believe in the judgment of the government at the time and even now, will be that if you bring a vehicle that is over
We're losing the minister again.
Yeah.
10 years old, it may be difficult to find parts. The judgment of the time, it was against public safety to bring those kind of vehicles here with that age being on it.
But Honorable Minister,
No, hello.
Then the penalty could be you use
I'm
that
here.
money to solve the problem. Is that what the penalty is for? Let's say the cleanup. Minister Tarpeh, are you hearing me? Okay. Mr. Tarpeh, now you hearing me?
Yeah, come again, please.
Yeah, if a penalty is imposed for a car that is over 10 years, the understanding that is you're going to use that money for whatever cleanup that is required after that car is salvaged. So that extra money that is being charged because the car is over 10 years, what is that? Where is that money going? If I can put it bluntly.
Dennis, I'm also wondering if it was just an incentive to actually discourage the importation of older cars. So maybe we'll see what the minister says, but it could have been just an incentive to discourage that.
Obviously, it's true. Government decided to discourage importation of old cars to ensure that car older than 10 years shouldn't be imported. I think the question there is what happens if a car is imported and you pay the fines? What do you do with the fines? I think that's a question that he's asking.
Honorable Minister, are you back? Can you speak to that? The higher
No, you keep breaking it. Are you seeing what happens to the revenue after the fines are paid?
Yeah, on older vehicles, the extra charges for older vehicles, is there does that go into a certain pot, or does that how does that work?
Well, that's part of general revenue. It's collected and put in the government general revenue account.
Okay. Let's bring in our.
I said those fines form part of general revenue accounts. So the funds go into the general revenue account of the government.
Okay, my thought was since the car is old, it means it will soon be salvaged and need to be thrown away. So I thought money like that will go into that cleanup. But let me bring on another caller. Kazali Double, you are live. Question or comment?
I have a question for the minister.
You have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much for bringing me on, Mr. Jai. Honorable Minister, my question has to relate to the gasoline issue that we just experienced in Liberia. Can you please tell us that that you put everything into place for this gas issue so that we don't see a reoccurrence? And can you please tell us what actually caused the shortage of gasoline on the market? That's one. And two, there is a rumor that
okay. Let me.
There is a rumor that there is a.
Your question: what caused the gasoline problem recently? Is that correct?
Yeah, and what mechanism have you put into place so that we don't experience a reoccurrence? That's one. And I have a second question.
Okay, go ahead briefly.
My second question has to do with the rights issues. There is a rumor that 50 cents is being added to the price of rice on the Liberian market, whereas we were told that the president declared tax-free on rice. Can you please explain to us in this forum as to whether you are aware of that, and if so, who's giving the president these advices?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me say this first, and I will start with the gasoline. Mm-hmm. The gasoline crisis was caused, one, by the inability of the port to receive large vessels, and two, the failure of some importers to bring in gasoline because of the same situation, and more importantly, a particular system in the LPRC that is called provisional lifting. Provisional lifting is a situation where, for instance, the 4 young brothers on this show have a total of 60 or 40,000 metric tons, averaging 10 for each of them in a tank at LPRC. One of the 4 gentlemen, young brothers here, who has 10, used 9 to service his customers. His customers need additional 5. Well, he has only 1 in tank. He goes to LPRC and asks LPRC give him 5,000 metric tons only.
You're having problem with the minister's phone line.
The RT is in Liberia.
So I mean, those are the reality of the challenges. No matter how brilliant or smart you have a system in place, if you depend on technology, you have these kind of challenges. Please back.
Depo, if you can text me.
Can I do it on?
I did.
Okay, if you can call me directly, Mr. Tarpeh, then we can have you on the phone.
I think it's better that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Depo, do I call you on your WhatsApp number?
No, I just
number.
No,
I just text a number to you. The 78 number, just dial 678 number.
So you can call that on WhatsApp, the 978. That's my number. You can call it on WhatsApp.
Okay, give me that number again, please.
978-726.
Yeah.
6965.
Yeah.
978-726-6965.
Okay. Okay.
That's
let me call that in a second.
Okay, yeah. You call that on WhatsApp?
Let me call that in a second.
Yeah, sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our Focus on Liberia Marketplace, where we discuss business, economic, finance, and you name it. And This afternoon, we have the Minister of Commerce, Professor Wilson K. Tarpeh, and we are discussing business, economics, commerce, and everything in between concerning Liberia. And the number to call to join the conversation is posted on Facebook. So you can call that number is 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403. If you call, just be brief so that we can have more people calling. We have a lot of questions here to ask the minister.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. But I'm waiting for your call.
Okay, so let me, you was asking the, okay, is 1-978-726-6965, is that correct?
That is correct, 6965.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, 726-978.
Yeah, 978-726.
Okay, let me see if I can locate you on what.
Yeah, it's Dennis.
No, I don't see it on WhatsApp.
978-726-6965. Depu, text me his number as well. Let me.
Doing that now.
Okay.
I just sent him WhatsApp. Prof, check the WhatsApp message I sent you.
Okay.
Send his number to me, Depu.
So will it be a number, Depu? Will it be 886749530?
No, that's no. I said I sent you a message right now on WhatsApp. Just check it on your orange number.
Yeah, I'm looking at my WhatsApp. I don't see a message from you.
All right, let me give you a number to Jar quick.
Yeah, please do that. Send it to my text it to me.
Okay, I have it 978-726-6965.
Correct.
That's correct.
So that +1, right?
Yes, +1. And you get him.
Oh boy. +1.
Ladies and gentlemen, bear with us. We will have the minister on the phone shortly, so you can ask all your questions. So Depu, maybe you know, what is that industry part of the Ministry of Commerce? What does that part do?
The industry area has to do with production. In fact, one of the projects that is also was part of the WTO is to set up a standard lab for the Ministry of Commerce. And that lab was supposed to be inspecting other products that will be imported in the country and are also be produced in the country to be checked in terms of safety standard and chemical component and all of these things. So the ministry also responsible for that. In terms of, they have oversight in terms of industrial development, while they work with free zone to also implement that aspect. So any production that has to do with, in fact, like you have cement, coal, any industrial development, they actually work with the entity or the company to do that.
Okay, and you didn't send me the prof number.
After he has your number, he's calling you.
But John, my problem is I don't have you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, so that's why
I don't have you on WhatsApp.
Send me the number.
It's not on WhatsApp. No, I don't have your number on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I will. When I get your number, I will call you on WhatsApp. Depu,
Okay.
you text that to me quickly.
Yeah, Depu has it. He has it.
Okay.
Text it to my number, not messenger.
Hey, Dennis, when you get that number, please don't forget, right? You have to do plus, I think it's plus, and then 231, add the country code, plus 231, and then the minister number. I think that's why he's not seeing you, because on your end, he has to put in the American code.
Yeah, because it's +1 978-726-6965.
Right.
You got it?
Right?
No, but, yeah.
But I don't see it on WhatsApp.
Check on the discussion screen. I just
Come
put it
on
there.
now. Why are you going to discussion screen when you can just text it to me?
Oh, sorry.
Just text it to my text, you know.
Okay, you're right.
Therefore, you've been given a little break, huh? You've been
What a
getting a little
break.
break. I don't hear the joy of a grandparent in the back.
Sleeping, the man sleeping.
Man sleeping.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me, William, please take down the colors, the colors while we wait, so we can jot down the colors, what they're going to say, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more caller on the line. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
This is Philip Slayon.
Philip, you are live on Focus on Liberia. Question or comment? 1 minute.
A question pertaining to the 27,000 metric tons that they reported was missing. All the explanation provided by Professor Tarpeh is a justifiable answer that he gave. But there are a lot of things they did not consider. Anytime you bring in a product into a tank, say for instance, there were 10,000 tons of metric product that they made there, and then another 3,000 came into play. So in total, you have 13,000 tons. But during the calibration, there will be either a shortage from the tanker, which is the boat or the ship. There will be evaporation of the product, and at the time the customer who has the product in the tank, at the time they come to load and take product from in the tank, there will still be evaporation. So I question the 27,000 tons they say got missing or they cannot account for. So if somebody tells you, say, he brought in 10,000 metric tons, at the end of he completing his taking the product from the tank, he will not be able to take out 10,000 tons. They have to consider those three aspects that are named. So it's very hard for LPRC to actually keep track of such a record. But in real petroleum product analysis, those things are taken into consideration, because you do not want to give somebody a product that in actual term he doesn't have again. Even in the gas station, if a man goes and do a calibration of certain quantity that is put into the tank, the next morning when he comes, he will not get that same amount. If you buy gasoline and you put it in a bottle and you put it right down in the street, you open that bottle, within 15 minutes you come back, you will not have that same quantity in that bottle. I think there was some lapses during the whole process. People felt that they had sufficient petroleum product in the tank, when in fact, their reading, the information they had on their data was not right. I just want to echo that. So at least our people should take precaution, be able to have people with the skill set that be able to analyze these things and take it into consideration so that we cannot go through the process what our people went through. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, I'm calling you. And it looked like Slewin has some technical knowledge about these things. So did you hear a question or comment?
No, sufficiently tight in that area. And I do agree with him. This is why we as the government have decided to launch an investigation, okay, to determine what really happened. It could as well be what he is talking about, because that you know, even in the production process, you have certain level of spoilage, or in the case of gasoline, like he is talking about, you have wastage, you have leakages, you have evaporation. But I am sure that these situations have limits. Some can be normal and some can be abnormal. But we need to know the actual figure. This is why investors.
Okay. Minister Tarpeh, check. Let me call you on WhatsApp. I'm calling you. Mr. Minister, I'm calling you on WhatsApp. So Mr. Slavian, thank you. Let's take the next caller. And William, please write down the caller's question.
Yes, I have it. I have the question now for Philip.
Okay.
Or
After
comment.
Philip, we got Telvina Cole. Telvina, you are live.
Why are you dancing my whole day? I'm like, oh, hello. Okay, I have a question for Mr. Tarpeh. Is he there?
Yes, he's there.
Is he live? Hello?
Yes. His phone was giving problem.
Yeah, because.
Okay.
We're gonna Ms. Cole, we're gonna take the question. We're gonna write it down for now, because we're having some technical difficulties with the connection. Is that okay?
I wish it wouldn't be not miss it, but try. Anyway, let me go for it. I wanted you to hear it directly.
Okay, hold on.
I'll go for it.
Okay, hold on. You don't want it to get lost in translation.
Hold on.
Exactly. Hear from the horse's mouth.
Okay. Dennis, do you know this? Dennis, do you know this person? It looks like it's a serious question, though.
Yeah, that's what. Oh, you think I want to get into?
Okay. I think we have.
Yeah.
It's a question and a comment.
Hello, we can hear you now.
That's quick. Okay. I'm there? Okay.
Yeah, you can hear you. Okay, so we have a caller on the line. So go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear?
Okay, Mr. Hello. So I have a comment. I listened to you repeatedly when you were asked about the gas situation, and I'm no expert in gas, but I heard you say repeatedly that the information you got was either from the port, the problem in the port, the system issue, or from LPRC, the report you got, and also you mentioned about the port wasn't drenched, every other thing, and I never, and you remove yourself from the problem, and I was taking it back for that, because as somebody who's knowledgeable in accounting, finance, and business and everything, I've known you from the time I was adolescent in college in LU. I was hoping to hear some sense of, first of all, apology to the Liberian people from you, because this is a shared responsibility. You're one of the key holders, the key players in this situation. So one I was hoping to hear the apology. Two, I was hoping to hear some sense of ownership from you, that I'm part of the problem, I take responsibility for this. But I didn't hear none of that from you, so I was a little bit disappointed and taking it back. Okay. So just something to think about. I don't know if it's a culture.
Let me see if he's getting you. Mr. Minister, are you getting the caller?
Yeah, she's keep breaking in. trying to get a sense of what she's talking about.
Okay,
But she keeps
what she's saying.
I don't know the question she's asking.
Let me
if
paraphrase.
She can repeat, let me see.
It's a comment.
And then be able to address her.
Okay, let me
address the concern properly.
She said she was disappointed that she did not hear you taking responsibility in everything that transpired during this gas crisis. He
didn't apologize for one thing. He didn't apologize, and he took no responsibility. Actually, he removed himself from the problem. Yes. He shifted on everybody else. He shifted on the port. He shifted on LPRC. He shifted on the system that he got. The report. And all of that. And I was taking that back because even with getting reports, we're all in the professional world. When you get reports, you trust, but you verify what you got. And so he didn't verify, so he needed to own the problem. When you mess up, you own the problem. So he should have taken his share of the responsibility and said, I am sorry, I didn't do this, I'm part of the problem, but this is the step forward that I have taken from my agency standpoint, from my ministry. These are the steps that I have taken going forward. So none of that we've heard so far, or I heard. And if it was in there, I didn't pick it up because I've been listening to the show all along. So that was my comment. And then my question is, I cannot feed that into it, but I want to know what steps he's taken from his agency standpoint to mitigate this problem.
All right.
Okay. Then I think it's a fair question. First of all, let me say this: we are not in the business of shaking away from responsibility. But before you take responsibility of anything, you have to make sure it is properly placed. We monitor what we call the critical basket. And that critical basket includes those things that are essential to the everyday life of the common person. There will be your rice, there will be your gasoline, there will be your flour, and there will be your sugar. On a weekly basis, the Ministry of Commerce conducts a review in terms of the
We're facing the same problem.
Unlike no, you can hear me.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. In the case of the rest of the commodities, right, we conduct a physical inventory. In the case of petroleum, however, we do not have the responsibility to do the gauging of the tanks. So we take the data as given to us by LPRC. That is standard operating procedure. So when I get the figure for LPRC, I have no reasons to doubt it because I do not conduct any countervailing mechanism to go into LPRC and tell them, let me do the gauging of the tanks. So when they gave me the figure and we made it public, and the actual situation prevailing on the ground did not seem to suggest, did not seem to support the figure that was given to be LPRC. We call LPRC and others.
Someone will be calling it line.
So it was at that point they told us the figure we gave you is the inventory figure that is also supplied by the importers. And they told us the actual quantity is about 1 million.
So the question there is, so what are you doing? What are the mechanisms being put into place now that we don't have this happening again from your ministry?
As soon as the information was told to us in the meeting, we informed the public the same day that what we have told you before is not consistent, what LPRC is telling us is not consistent with the number.
The phone keep reconnecting and connecting. So WhatsApp is also, all right.
Someone will be calling his number.
Because as a ministry, we don't want to repeat the occurrence of that. We are taking steps to ensure, one, the provisional lifting, which we believe is substantially responsible for that. We also are moving our inspectors and monitors as of Monday to do the actual tank gauging. We are also going in to do the gauging and the measurement of the truck tankers that are in the system to ensure that we don't get fed with information that is not reliable, and that we have the actual information and the proper measurement. Those are the steps that we are taking. We are also putting in safe place a regime that will require LPRC to give each importer a movement of their account on a daily basis. And that information is made available to the Ministry of Commerce and other relevant agencies. Those are the steps that we are putting in to ensure that that kind of situation does not happen again. So when she said taking responsibility, what responsibility I was not supposed to take that I did not take? I took the figure from LPRC, which is a standard operating procedure. When I realized on their own taking that the actual quantity is not what they gave us, we decided to inform the public. And to avoid the recurrence, we are now moved in steps to ensure that we ourselves now counter-check the figure they gave us by doing the gauging of the tanks.
Yeah, I think what she's talking about is what stopped you from doing that before?
No, because it is not a standard requirement. LPRC is a different entity by law. When you tell that this is what you have, you do not have reciprocal direct. It is like somebody that you having a system, and you have the school tells you that these are the number of students that we have, these are the grades in which they are. You take the information, you go and find out that that particular information they are giving you is not true because the actual students that are coming out is not the same. Then you create a countervailing mechanism to make sure that it doesn't happen. You see, when you work with institutions arrangement, you have to make sure with respect to what you receive and taking steps that will suggest that you don't trust the integrity of what is happening. Fine, the downside is, well, if you've done that, then this would have happened. Fine, so we take it as a blessing that it is God. So the substantive part is, what are we doing as a ministry to ensure that the situation does not recur? I just told you, we have stopped the provisional lifting, which caused most of this problem. We are moving in our people ourselves to do the gauging of the tanks, to know the actual quantity compared to the inventory. 3, we are also making sure that a transparency reporting system is in place that we allow LPRC now, where we require LPRC to inform each importer the movement in the accounts on a daily basis. That's what we do. So we are now moving away from responsibility or something that we are responsible, that we've made an error. We definitely will own it. So it doesn't cause any, in fact, it's good for integrity. But in this situation, I had no way of knowing. The standard operating procedure does not require me to tell LPRC, let me do the gauging. The situation now creates the compelling reason for me to do that. And we're taking steps to do that.
Right. Okay. Thank you. You know, we didn't, this explanation, we didn't really hear it from your press conference that you had when you spoke of the when you spoke about the school situation where you have the windows that were open with the food and things like that. Remember that?
No. I was trying to explain a situation called system inertia. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
You have, say, 8 importers. 7 of them have run out of fuel because their boats could not dock. The only person sitting there has sufficient fuel to link you to the next arrival of ship. But because there's only one person, the 7 windows that are closed are caused a clock into the system. I was trying to explain the system inertia. That was what I was explaining. So I'm not making excuses for what happened. That was trying to do.
Yeah. Eric, before...
Dennis, am I still live?
Yeah, but we got to go to another caller. But there was a caller who asked the
question.
Let her
about the...
No, it's just 2 minutes, and it's not a question. Actually, it's not a question. Thank you, Mr. Scott. I just want to thank you for those controls that you guys have put in place or about to put in place. I'm glad to hear that. But I just want to add to that. Just take it from a good place. For best practices, I know you cannot. There's no way you can take those numbers and you can verify those numbers literally. But whoever you're taking the numbers from in the future, let them attest that those numbers are correct. They are, and so that if it happens, then the onus is on the person who gave you those inaccurate numbers. And that's what you should be doing. That's your way of verifying the numbers. That's how it is in the accounting world, in the business world. That's how it is. So
the countervailing mechanism will be multifaceted. People will come from us, who will come from our standard lab, people who come from our consumer unit to make sure that the information that they're gathering ourselves for our institutions is consistent with LPR shared here with us.
Thank you.
So I do agree with that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope I was able to provide that. But you're right. Let me assure you, this ministry under my supervision will not waste time in taking responsibility for where it failed. In this situation, we followed the standard operating procedure. We found out, though, that the information was correct. We immediately informed the public that the information was not correct. And the steps we are taking to avoid a recurrence is just what I explained to you.
Thank you. Before your phone got
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
There was a question about the rumors of 50 cents being added to price of rice. Can you?
You know, let me tell you something. And I was telling a group of young people the other day, it appears that this government, in this country, people are involved in what we call psychological warfare. The psychological warfare just plant something that will incite the public. We don't have a problem with rice here. I mean, this is a rumor that anybody, even a 10-year-old can verify. Just go to a rice dealer and ask for the rice. Where is the rumor coming from? It just doesn't make sense, because that is a critical policy decision that when made, the public will be informed. Since March of 2018, the price of rice has not exceeded $13.50. So I don't know where that rumor is coming from, but you see, we live in a situation. First, it was the 16 billion that caused a lot of anxiety. Then 25 million came in. Even though people came, the United States and other international partners helped us to resolve the situation and say, no, none of this happened. But there's something got to be planted all the time. After the gasoline, they're talking about rice. It's sheer nonsense. I'm sorry for the language. There's nothing of that nature. We don't have a problem there. We do not have a problem there. Okay? We don't have a problem there.
Okay. And that's why we
rice price has not been increased. The only thing that has happened, because the people buy the rice in Liberian dollars, whenever the rate changes, there causes the price to the retailer. But the base price of rice remains at $13.50.
Thank you. And that's why it's important.
Since March of 2018.
Thank you. That's why it's important that we appreciate you coming on, because
anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. This is a good platform. It helps our people to get the proper information. You see, proper information can avoid a lot of anxiety. And anytime you feel it necessary for us to give the information, we do it. In fact, we hope we can do it two ways. We can use your valuable platform to share information for our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are very concerned, genuinely concerned about what is happening to their country.
Thank you. We look forward to that. Let me bring in another caller. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
My name is McDonald Flomo Nyauke, calling from Minnesota.
Question or comment, sir?
Before I start, I just want to tell the minister that this platform is a very good platform. Next time when he knows he's coming on this platform, let him put our expenses in his budget, that telephone expenses for what he calls, he can use the correct language call. I mean, this is very, very important to be using WhatsApp. I mean, it's just so bad for our country. WhatsApp or Facebook, our minister should be using this.
Okay.
Can I come in? That being said, let me come with my question now. Okay. All right, there's a guy, you get a guy that talk about electricity in Liberia, studying electricity. I've been a little engineer. I got a concern. He's talking about our electricity. At this time, when he said a little bit, I agree with him. At this time, we talking about how best to say to get current our people. Transmission and distribution is the problem of Liberia right now. Okay, he talked about the hydro. We can use the hydro in Morovia and build mini hydro in some of the counties during the rainy season. Okay, during the rainy season, those hydro can work by themselves. During the dry season, you subcontract out the system so that you have constant supply in Liberia. During the dry season, they work in rainy season. They work individually. The thermal work individually. The hydro plants work individually. During the dry season, you subcontract out the system. Then they'll try to pop up one another and we still get constant supply in Liberia. We should talk about what? How best to transmission and distribution in Liberia, not to sell current in Liberia, because even our brothers and sisters in the village, in our current in Morovia, put in our current all my Morovia, talking about selling current to where? Africa, who buy current want to get abundance of current Africa?
Madonna.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any question for the minister?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, I get one question for the minister. The minister said the launching investigation. We have gotten a first-hand information from Jacob Kaluba. He's a representative. He said the president stole the field for LPRV. So, if a renowned man saying this, what is the investigation? Go to the man, get that measure approved. Then you can stop from there. But if this man of lawmaker said about the president stole the field for LPRC, they launch investigation. I don't see what investigation you launch because you get a representative saying that the president stole it, get proof to prove. Then you leave to go launch investigation. So I don't think that you wait until investigation. What else did you ask for that information?
Mr. Flomo, are you saying because the representative said it so that law and gospel, we should take it like that?
My brother, if a renowned lawmaker
thank you.
said that the president and some people from the place took it.
Thank you.
Let me say this.
Go ahead.
Let me say this to my young brother there. I hope he's doing okay. If somebody of repute accuses him of being a pedophile, he expects the Lord to just take him and put him in jail? I just want to ask him. Somebody just accuses him of violating a minor, just like that. They should take him. We don't do that here, my friend. We don't do that here.
No, we are not talking about that.
Listen, you have to use the standard. When somebody makes an accusation, you have to investigate. In this case, you don't even need to investigate. I didn't tell you the investigation is on course for that. They put up the house put up a committee to find out what it is. It's a simple matter. Go to the rice dealer and ask for the price of rice. I am telling you, these people are unconsciously involved in psychological warfare. We know what that is. We got things to do with remain focused. I'm telling you, the price of rent has been the same in terms of the United States dollars since March of 2018. So somebody comes and say price of rent. It's not magic. You don't need any break to do that. So you don't just say because somebody made accusation, you go grab them and throw them in jail. They decide to put an investigation together. It is their right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, my friend, somebody asked the question, the plan we have for diaspora Liberians. First of all, this government has realized that a substantial amount of capital flows that come into this country come from our compatriots in the diaspora. The Ministry of Commerce and the National Investment Commission is in its preliminary stage, the advanced stage of preliminary work to work with the Liberian Association in the United States to come and launch a conference to discuss how our diaspora Liberian can be given the opportunity to invest here and what protective tariff or what protective mechanism they need to encourage them to do that. We are hoping that this can be done before the summer is over.
Thank you. Let me get Yeti Williams from New Jersey.
Dennis, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Question or comment?
Yes, my comment first has to do with the chairman of Aminata and Son explained the problem of the gasoline situation quite different from what the minister talking about, because the minister speculated and talked about they have to do thorough investigation, but at the same time explaining what actually happened. So I don't know which one to take from there. But one of the major importer, Aminata and Son chairman by the name of Siaka Toure, explained that the provisional lifting caused bulk of this problem because they were stopped from getting the transparency report. And the transparency report has to do with every month inventory from FPRC as to how many supply in stock from every other importer, so that every importer will be able to be informed as to what the next importer got, what the other person got, so that even if your supply going low, and they were doing, hello, you getting me?
Yeah, just wrap up. We don't have more. We don't have much time. Just wrap up.
Yeah, yes. The transparency report from FPRC to importers that are bringing petroleum product, he based on that they need to get transparency report, and the provisional lifting has to stop because the provisional lifting used to happen during the past regime, but they were getting transparency report to know as to the supply that were in stock. But that has stopped since 2018, January. And they've been requesting for that until now that this problem happened. So they have to go back to that. Make sure every importer receives transparency report. And my interest again is a few seconds ago, the minister talked about diaspora and Liberian wanting to investment commission, trying to set up a conference. That would be a good thing. Some of us been saying this on different airwaves about all Liberian conference that will bring people together to make recommendations that will become a blueprint for Liberia's development. So those are all fine ideas because every major investment a Liberian government wants, the diaspora Liberian can generate any amount from $100 million to $500 million in a year or two for any major investment. Don't overlook it. So Liberian government need to think hard and see what they can do along with Liberian in the diaspora as to having an investment opportunity instead of looking for investors from other parts of the world, giving them the opportunity to reap out of Liberia and Liberian don't have the means of participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Minister.
Okay, I want to thank the young brother for the comments, but let me just remind him, apparently he had a question to ask, so I don't know when he joined the conference because exactly what he's talking about is what I said. Right. The provision I told him the steps that we took. If you can you probably need to replay the tape for my young brother to understand that. So what Mr. Ture said is not different from what I said. As a matter of fact, it's a recitation of what we have done. So there's no deviation there. There's no difference in what he said. And you agree that if you play the record, you will see it. Yeah. Okay? So they're not different. They're not different.
Let me go back to my panelists to if they have anything we are trying to wind down. Still, we have a few more callers. Or want to go to the panel?
Yeah, I have a question here for the minister.
Yes, sir.
I keep hearing about this professional lifting and at the LPRC. When I was in Liberia, I was working with the GSC and I sat on 2 separate engagements at the LPRC. And some of the issues that you guys talking about, like what we do as an auditor, well, on a book, I don't say something called overnight losses, demurrage, and what you call the evaporation. And my second question again on the provisional lifting, it says the policies of the government and LPRC is implementing our policy because if an importer brings in and 15,000 tons of gasoline, and he exhausts that, and he exhausts what he brought in the country. What gives LPRC the authority to allow another importer to lift a product that is not belongs to them? Right. Isn't it a policies of the government, and how long it's been on the book?
Thank you. Yeah, that's I was going to ask that too.
Let me quickly answer that. Mm-hmm. First of all, that practice was stopped by this government from the very day we came into power. 2, because it's just wrong. Because the product in the tanks do not belong to LPRC. You can't give away what you don't have.
Exactly.
So it's just wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. That's why we stop it. It's wrong. You can't do that. You can't do that because the product in the tank is not yours. And if you are taking it, it should be done with the consent of the people who own the product in the tank. Our view is when the situation is harmonized and it is reviewed. If at all it would do, then it should be a business transaction between 2 importers. Mm-hmm. With specific instructions to LPRC that I am giving 10,000 metric ton to Mr. Man or to Mr. Jar. That should be a business decision between them. It cannot be LPRC.
And Mr. Minister, just a follow-up on the question. I have a follow-up here.
You stop it and you're still doing it, Mr. Minister?
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm saying to you, it has stopped. It stopped since we came into power 2018. We begin to see it now because the flow stopped. That's what I said. And
okay, Mr. Minister. Okay, now we then if that was stopped in 2018 when you came to power, so why we still talking about provisional lifting in this investigation of the new fuel shortage?
Because you saw the defect after the flow stopped. We just found out because the flow stopped. Do you understand when I say the flow stopped?
No.
If the flow is
Minister.
Listen, as long as the money becomes, continue, you will not see it. But when the flow stops, then you see it. You know what happened to Enron? You in the United States, you know what happened to Enron?
Right.
You know what happened? It's the same thing. It's the same thing, my brother. It's the same thing. We stopped it, but we did not know the magnitude it had gone to.
Right.
Until this situation happened.
Also,
Mr. Jad.
So what they did in 2018, that's the effect you are now seeing in 2020.
I am saying the provisional listing is something that's been going on since August of 2008. In 2018, when the CDC came into power, we stopped it, but we didn't know the magnitude had gone because product was still flowing. We got to find out the magnitude when the product start flowing. It's like a Ponzi scheme.
And so, Mr. Minister, let me do a follow-up question. So, Mr. Minister, are you making us to understand that the current management of LPRC were unable because when you issued that mandate to stop the provisional lifting, the previous administration, under your administration, and this new MD, they never did any analysis to know the effect when they took over and coming today and talking about the same provisional lifting.
I don't understand your question though.
My question is,
go ahead. Let me understand you well.
You issue a mandate in 2018 to stop provisional lifting. From 2018 to 2020 January, when the new shortage of fuel hits the Liberian market. Between that period, during period analysis, 2 years time, what the managing director of LPRC, what a report you guys have on hand to show to the public that they did X, Y, and Z to ensure that the provisional lifting never continue up to today?
I am saying to you, in 2018, this government came, they stopped it. They stopped the provisional lifting. Stopped the provisional lifting, and it never continued. We got to know the magnitude of what it is because the flow stopped. As long as you continue to have had product flowing into the tanks, this issue would not have come up. That's what I'm trying to say to you. There was no provisional lifting in this administration. But you know, when we are talking this thing, this is a government. So whether it happened 15 years ago, 10 years ago, the important thing is what are we doing as a government to correct the situation? And I just told you that we stopped it and we are putting in place an investigation. And you know why the investigation? Because you want to know who is the person or who are the people who have taken product from LPRC that have not paid. And two, it has a wider implication for the investment environment. What is the implication? You got financiers sitting in Switzerland who finance certain product, hoping and thinking that it's in the tank here, when in actuality, the product is not there. Now, you know what happens when the investor financier gets to know that the product, the asset that are financed is not available, it creates a difficult situation. That's a reputational risk. This government cannot afford for a reputational risk to be for the private sector here, because our view of the private sector here is that it is that particular sector that generates growth. And so we have to go to the bottom of this thing to find out what the figures are, who the person indebted, and who they are, will go after them. If it turns out it is LPRC that is indebted to the importers, the government will take the necessary steps to ensure that LPRC pays those people and those people pay their financiers. This is what a responsible administration does, and this is what we are doing. But before you do that, you need to know the facts, know the figures, and get everything on the table by me of investigation. That's what we are doing.
Mr. Minister,
hold on, Maurice. We have to wind down this thing. Mr. Depo, your final question, and then we go around the room and
yes, thank you. I think because of time, I don't want to just go with next question on the list. But what I want to encourage the minister is that the opportunity is there for us to have a follow-up discussion. If he has time, we can do that. But one of the things that from the discussion we are having about the petroleum, which is now taking control of the whole discussion right now at the end, I realize that even if you look at the act creating the LPRC is meaning like it's a business for government to do the importation and sale of petroleum products. And I don't know why is it that LPRC has now become like a regulator when it's supposed to be doing the same business the private sector are doing. So these are some of the things that we need to now look at. If the LPRC as a government firm or entity to do importation and distribution or sale of petroleum product is now in competition with another firm, private firm, why can we now look at it realistically and say we are now going to open the market to private sector and just look for a firm to do the regulation? So LPRC doing two things at the same time.
Okay, maybe when we get, definitely we can have another discussion and new information will come up. But let me tell you this. As far as we are concerned as a government, you cannot manage a major sensitive commodity like this without control as to how or who brings it in and how it is managed. So we want to make sure that the private people who bring it in here get a fair return on their investment, but more importantly, that product is available to the market as and when the market need it. And that is what we are doing. And there are steps, measures under consideration to enforce or ensure and enhance the strength of the government through LPRC to develop that capacity. So certainly subsequent to this discussion, we can always make time to talk to our young brothers on this important platform. There's no question about that.
Thank you. William, I got one more caller to bring in. William,
please,
if you have something
please,
before I go
call
to
us first. No, call us, please.
All right. Let me go to my caller from 267 area code. Caller, you are live. You have 30 seconds. We are almost out of time.
Okay, my name is James City. I'm a Grandidian, but residing in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh man, what you bring about Grandidian business?
And no, I say I'm a Grandidian residing in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay, and your full name is James who?
Sadie, Saydee.
Go ahead, James. You have 30 seconds.
Okay, and the minister and other government official a year ago said that we're going to have cement in the southeastern region. We're going to have it in Buchanan, Maryland, Sano, and Ganta. And since that time, we have not heard from the commerce minister again talking about the cement. And we all know that the southeastern corridor from Ganta to Zredu is one of the main corridors. Everybody believes that the government is a southeastern government. When are we going to talk about the cement business and the road construction to Zredu?
Thank you. Thank you. Let me take Wilton briefly. Wilton, you will be our last caller. Mr. Kettle, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you, brother Dennis, and thank you to your guests for coming on the show. I got just one question. The president, I heard the information minister saying that the government will import gas product that they will store just in case the private people do not bring in more gas to the government and be the back off. Is the government using the same method on agriculture?
Thank you.
That's my question. Is the government going to use the same method on agriculture instead of turning it over to the private sector alone? The government can have government farms, rice farms, where we can stop doing our own rice.
Thank you. Let me ask the minister. Minister, you got a question. The first one was on cement to southeastern and southeastern road. Now importing for the government taking over agri.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me speak to my last caller, and I hope he's doing okay. I understand his question has to do with the petroleum imports and the agriculture. Let me say to him that what we are trying to do as a government is consider the need for strategic reserves. And that's why the president took the first step. We had a difficulty to allocate some money through the budget for us to be able to in the next several months, we are on the road to that, to ensure that we have certain quantity of that product available in the market alongside with the private sector. With respect to the agriculture, we just got a new agriculture minister, and I can also say to you that there is a program to go heavily into agriculture. Now, the question of my young brother, Sadie from Granjida, who is in the great United States, I think you need to catch up with the situation. Maybe if we have a number, we can get it to you. There is an ongoing construction between Ganta and Tarpeh and Zwedru. That construction is underway, funded by the World Bank and other international partners. Cement is available to most of the countryside, but again, you know the difficulty of the roadside. The cement, it takes some time to get there, but the price, I can tell you, has reduced. We got cement as far away as Maryland, in Grand Crew, in River G. Is it at a level where we want it? Certainly not. But efforts have been made to make sure that those important commodities are available. The road construction is something that this president ranks number one. And if you heard just the other day, the rubber field road is going to be tuned apart and expanded. Construction is ongoing in a particular area of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joe Cassell on Facebook said the liberalization policy is being flouted by foreigners, while the Ministry of Commerce takes no punitive action against these bad actors. Can the minister tell us what mechanisms and controls he has put in place to ensure that the liberalization policy is adhered to?
That's very good. I like the question, but I do not accept that generalization. Let me tell you the frustrating part of this. When we came into the ministry, this government came on, we made it a point to bring Liberians and only Liberians into institutions or businesses that are exclusively set aside by law for Liberians. And we pursue that. But you know what the frustrating part? You grab a foreigner in a business that only Liberians are supposed to take part, who shows up a Liberian with an article of incorporation that says I own 25%. When you ask the Liberian here to do what, he said to do what the lawyers call piercing the corporate veil. You ask him, what level of this business do you have? What is your decision rule? He can't tell you anything. It's called fronting. So what we are doing to combat now, we are crafting the law to criminalize fronting and deal with this situation. So he can say we're not doing that. We are actively involved in that to ensure that only Liberians do those businesses that are set aside by law. The problem is our own people are funding for these fronting for these non-Liberians. And the way we are dealing with that now is to craft a law that criminalizes fronting.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get from my man, Asuni Sia has just joined us. Asuni, we are concluding. So if you have one comment or question for the minister, and then we can have his final comments and close the show for tonight.
Dennis, don't forget, I got a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jai, and I'm glad that the minister was able to join us today. We hope they would not be the last time. Honorable Minister, I have a question on this. Much talk about then Propo rice. Where is the Propo rice? What happened to it? We're given the impression that it would have been sustained, but I don't see it on the market. What happened?
Oh, I don't know who gave you that impression, sir. When that proposed came in, it was strictly a private sector initiative. And we said the president intervened and worked and asked the private sector to do it at that price just for that. You see, when a situation like that develops, this government is very careful in trying to sustain businesses on the of subsidy. We do not subsidize those commodities. So it was not something that we're going to continue. A private sector investor decided I'll go into the Propo rice. They brought 800,000 bags. I think 80,000 bags and it was sold. I think another private sector person brought something similar and is about to hit the market. I'm told that in a month's time, the ship should be here. So it was not something, it was not a government program to bring poor rice and sell it at a reduced price. No, it was a private sector initiative that was done to test the market. So it is not, again, it's not something the government say will continue to do it. This government will not commit itself to anything that it cannot continue.
Thank you. Let's let me get William and Depu involved, and then we can close the broadcast. William, you're coming.
Yes, thank you. Once again, I want to thank all of our viewers, listeners, those who had comments on the Facebook and those who were able to take their calls. We apologize if we could not get to everybody. Honorable Minister, one thing I want you to know to leave here about Focus on Liberia is that we are available. We are a platform that is available, and we expect you to use us and to come back on and to spread the word. We are expecting you. So treat this as your own, okay? As your own. The last thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We definitely will use it because we think it's an important platform to disseminate important information, especially to those of our compatriots who are very, very and genuinely concerned about what is happening in the country. And I can assure you from where I sit in the Ministry of Commerce, we'll try to make sure that we provide the information to you.
Thank you. Lastly, in closing, is this. Liberians are realizing that they have the power and the passion and the economy to be able to do something with their economy and their country development. This space where we have not figured it out yet all the way, or we're trying to get to, is the structure. Is the structure through which we can be partakers and stakeholders in our economy. I heard you mention that maybe there's something, maybe a diaspora conference or something that will be coming up maybe to talk about this. And I want you to know that Liberians, although we talk, we criticize and everything, but let our pockets show true that we do invest and we do want to see our country prosper. So whatever we can do to help structure that conference, to help come up with ideas and so forth, please use us. And anytime, whether you send somebody else or yourself or somebody else, this is something we want you to definitely treat as your own. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I'll definitely will be engaged with you guys. We'll work on the conference, and we'll keep you guys informed, because you see, the view that we have here as a government, the president has, is that our people in the diaspora are very significant and relevant and important to this country in every aspect of its development stage. And when it comes to the investment, actual capital formation can definitely come from our people. I mean, come on, you guys send between average 300 to 400 million a year. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And most of you there, giving opportunity to invest it, you have access to OPEC funding, which by statute of your status is available to you. And that level of capital formation can help us in this country to move forward. So we're aware of that. But we need to put the DAX in place and begin the discussion with you and see how we can be able to work together and give you the encouragement and give you the incentives you need to invest in your country.
Thank you.
Mr. Zua?
Okay, Honorable Minister, thank you very much. My last comment would be that I want to also encourage the ministry and the National Port Authority, the Brokers Association, and all of these people to make sure that they make public the cost of clearing container from the port, the procedure, and all of these things should be out. I think during one of our business commerce discussion, we agreed that these things should be public. Many Liberians still believe that they are hitting costs in case they have information. Once their goods get on ground, price given them is different, and what they meet on ground is quite different. So information disclosure is very much important for the diaspora community so that they can be encouraged to invest back home. As you said, they sent over 400 million. And one engagement that's going on now here is, especially on this platform, to see how best Liberian can do, financing and see how best they can collaborate and work from where they are in diaspora and invest back home. So it's important for us to also be transparent in our information disclosure from the public sector. So that's what I want to say.
That is a valid concern, and I think some of the things that we need to do is try to see if we can centralize that information at the ministry to make it easier for people to access. So that's a valid concern, and we take that very kindly, and we'll do what we need to do to gather the information and try to centralize it for our people to know.
Mr. Mann?
Yes, and for me, I just want to say a big thank you to my big brother and minister for coming on this program, for providing necessary information to our listener. I want to encourage him I just want to butcher my brother King, because this particular forum on focus on Liberia is squarely about business and economics, and a focus on Liberia. So the Commerce Ministry should use this forum to inform diaspora Liberians and other Liberians part of the world to know what's obtaining in our country in terms of business and economics, and how we can get involved in being part of development priorities of our country. And in conclusion, and I talked about several constraints that the private sector is faced with, and those constraints are electricity. Electricity is in the country, but the issue of it being stable is one of the issues. I think government need to get involved with EDC, because it's like you'll be sitting here, somebody say, "Oh, current just gone," and you can't run business like that. Which has a sustainable current. It's not just current, but something that will be stable, that can stay on, because people and product gets damaged when they start getting current off and on, and it reduces the interest of investment. Mm-hmm. So that's something they need to look at.
Thank you.
Okay, that is also well taken. I can tell you these are some of the challenges, because without the infrastructure, you can't do much. Okay, so there are things to pay attention. But I want our compatriots to understand this country is in dire strait. We are trying to restructure everything around here. We had a situation here in Uganda where we had an economy that was basically doing consumption spending. You have a country like this where the average wage bill for a month was about $15 million among 60,000 people. You talk about an average of $250. Then you got 1,000 families, you got 4,000 people, less than 5%, less than 15% of that population making 28% of the payroll. That is scandalous. That is scandalous. You have people making 15,000, 20,000, 25,000. The country couldn't afford it. So we have to take the hard bullet to harmonize the salary, so that if men and king are doing the same job, we do not give the power of their salary to Mr. Ja, and he would decide that because I elect Mr. King, even though they're doing the same job, I'll give him $10,000 in allowance and give Mr. King $1,500. That's absurd. That is the first situation we are dealing with, and that's where the harmonization seeks to do, to rationalize the spending and be able to go into a program so that we can restore macroeconomic stability, and then on the growth sector we go into agriculture, and we believe the resources from there will also help us to dive deep into the infrastructure development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me get my last this political guy, and then we can close. Mr. Sia, you have 29 seconds.
Mr. Jad, I think we should close it. A minister has promised that he will come back sometime in the future. At which time I will be prepared for him. I think I came late, so he's getting away. Maybe that's good for him. Mr. Minister, it was good to have you. Thank you for coming.
And Mr. Minister, all our people on Facebook are asking you to come back. So we use this time for you to give your concluding statement.
Oh, well, I want to first of all, let me thank you guys for the opportunity to access this platform. to access this platform. We will definitely be back here as time goes by, so that we can provide information, interact with our people, because the lack of information, the lack of information causes a lot of anxiety. And if you don't define yourself, then people in doubt can define you. And when people define you, it may not even be in favorable terms. So as a government, as a ministry, we will try to be proactive, work with you to provide information, provide the valid figures, so you can make informed decisions. And we'll definitely come back when Deb knows how to get a hold of me. I keep a very schedule, but this is an important platform, and I'll always make time to do my best to make time to come to you so I can provide information. It's just that I would like to know, an engagement, how long it would take, so I'll be able to schedule my time, because I thought it was going to be an hour. We've been going for 2 hours now, so I can be able to put valuable time aside to give all of the time and prepare for this kind of important discussion. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope we'll definitely be here. Let's try to stay in touch. Let me know all of your coordinates, and then I can pass them on and definitely supervise the flow of the information to you. And let it be two-way. The information that you need, information you want to get verified, please let us know. And my final thing is, be aware. There's a lot of things going on outside there. People are unconsciously involved in psychological warfare. People will drop information to cause a lot of excitement. Get to us. If we have the information, we give it to you. For instance, this thing with the price of rice, it's not possible to increase price of rice without the general population knowing about it. And it's something that you can easily test. Go to any of the rice dealers, as I told somebody the other day, and they will tell you that the price of rice has always been the same since March of 2018. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I hope the next time there will be a lady on the panelists.
Oh, definitely.
You guys, you're a lady.
Oh, Minister, that's a low blow. That's a low blow. We'll fix it.
I want to thank all our viewers, our listener callers. We couldn't get to all of you, but thank you so much. 6 o'clock, come back here. We're going to be talking politics.
Thank you. Dennis, you take us down from Facebook? Take us down from Facebook, right?